Hey everyone, IntoWeapons back again with you. Got one last gun to share with you that's out of my grandfather's collection. This one here is a Springfield 94B, as in boy. It's a 12 gauge shotgun, single shot. It's got an exposed hammer. Kind of a neat gun. As I mentioned, the model number is 94B. Supposedly, the 94B started production about 1950. I'm not exactly sure what year this particular gun was manufactured. If anyone has any idea, feel free to post it down in the comments. I wasn't able to get much of an answer on the forums that I'm a member at, so I would definitely be interested if someone has that information. As I mentioned, this one is made by Springfield. It's manufactured by J. Stevens Arms Company at that point in time, which is Chicopee Falls, Massachusetts, USA. There are some markings on this gun that we'll go over here in a second. I'll do a basic breakdown of this gun, and really the breakdown of this gun is more or less for transport. It does have I think a 36-inch barrel, so it is a significantly sized shotgun. I'll just kind of pan to the left here so you can see that barrel just goes on forever. I think the breakdown of this gun that I'm aware of is more for transporting, as actually every gun case that I have isn't big enough for it, so I imagine that's what it's for. I won't do a breakdown of the receiver or the trigger guard or the hammer or any of that stuff. The operation and the build of these types of single shot shotguns are pretty standard. There isn't a whole lot that can go wrong with them. There really isn't a need to break down into those systems to clean them, as there's not a whole lot of fouling that will get down into those areas. The pins that you would need to drive out in order to do that on this gun are in immaculate condition. I don't really want to damage any of those pins. Overall, unless it's really broken, I wouldn't recommend going into this type of gun. Clean what you can with, getting your rags into the areas that you're able to reach, but other than that, just leave it alone. That's my recommendation, but feel free to do whatever you want. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and pull it down here, guys. I'll show you a real quick way of how to disassemble this gun if you got one. We'll go over the markings of it real quick. I did include some shooting footage, which, at this particular gun I wasn't scared to shoot. There wasn't any damage to the barrel. There wasn't any pitting or corroding, so felt pretty comfortable. It did kick like a mule. Was kind of expected. Most 12 gauges do. Was able to put off about 8 or 9 shots before my shoulder started hurting. So it has a real tight group at that was, I think, 35 feet, so, or maybe 25 feet, I'm sorry. So it reaches out there a little bit with a nice tight group, so really good for long distance shooting, as that grouping won't spread too far. So we'll go ahead and break it down here, guys, and we'll take a closer look. Alright guys, so breaking down this gun into what I like to call transport mode is pretty easy. Again, this has got a 36-inch barrel on it, so I think the main intention of this was just so people were able to fit it into a gun case and take it with them. But you'll notice this front handguard here. It doesn't have any screws or anything on it. This actually pops out if you pull from the front of the handguard here away from the barrel. The whole handguard will actually pop right out. Once you do that, that kind of releases the barrel from the receiver system here. So if I break the action with my button here, it will actually take the whole barrel right off the receiver. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Again, I think it's more of just for transport reasons. I'm not going to break this gun down any further. There is a couple pins that you would drive out here to remove the hammer and some of the internals there for the spring system to release the barrel. And then there would be this pin here to release the trigger guard. There is a screw down here that would allow you to take that out as well, I believe, or I actually think that's for the stock, to remove the stock. But as you can see here, it's got kind of a neat finish. I don't know if I can maybe a closer up look for that on you guys. It's got kind of a neat finish there on the metal. It's in immaculate condition for the age of the gun. As you can see here, well, we'll go look at the markings here in a little bit, but it's got a plastic butt pad on it, which is not wood or anything. Kind of standard, I guess, for this model. But held together pretty well over time. This as well is just a checkered plastic front handguard. Nothing too special about that. It is a smooth bore barrel. It's proof tested, 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch chamber. What I noticed was when I was shooting it is after I did fire the round, the expansion of the shell made it difficult for this extractor to kick the shell out. So after doing some cleaning, I'm hoping that fixed it. I didn't bring it out to the range after I cleaned it, so it's going to be interesting to see in the next time that it's taken out to shot if it actually extracts like it should. So I'm just guessing with the wear over the years, it was probably just a bunch of buildup of guck in there, and I cleaned her out pretty good. So I'll break down the camera here and we'll take a closer look at some of the markings on this guy. Alright guys, so we'll start with the receiver here. We're over on the left hand side of the receiver. It does say Springfield, manufactured by the J. Stevens Arms Company, and that's Chicopee Falls, Massachusetts, USA. So I think this is under the old brand when they were still using the J. Stevens name. Over on the left hand side, or I should say, I'm sorry, the right hand side of the receiver, you'll actually find the serial number Y2187, and then you'll find the model number 94B there. And that's all the markings that I was able to find on this particular gun on the receiver end of it. On the barrel we have proof, let's see here if we can get that focused. There we go, proof tested 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch chamber. And if we can get over on the other side here, this barrel is huge, so it's kind of hard to maneuver. And on this side we just have selected forged steel, nothing else on there. But the bluing on this barrel is in great shape, being that it's potentially 50 years old. It does have a just a front bead sight on there, as you can see. But overall, pretty nice gun. Doesn't have a whole lot of value to it. I think if I remember correctly, it's between $200 and $250, so not all that expensive of a gun, but overall, nice collectible gun. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I appreciate watching, and take her easy.